Halley's Comet, perhaps the most famous of all comets, passed through Earth's atmosphere in 1835, the very year that American author Mark Twain was born. Twain predicted that he would leave this Earth on the comet's return 75 years later, and he did. That year of 1910 would prove to be no ordinary year. The comet was photographed for the first time in 1910, and perhaps its bright glow served as a sign for the many changes lying ahead in American society. The Boy Scouts of America were born in 1910. Here in Warren, Pennsylvania, the Chief Corn Planter Council is currently the oldest existing continuously registered Boy Scout council in America. The practice of mass production was also born in 1910 when Henry Ford moved his Model T Ford plant into the Highland Park facility, where this type of assembly line production first took root. In this year of the Great Comet, with all eyes on the sky, the newly invented airplane was also big news. The first commercial air flight took place in 1910, along with the first flight of an American president. All over the world, and especially in the fast-changing United States of America, folks were living in anticipation of new adventures, new experiences, and new processes. According to the 1910 census, the United States population approached 100 million for the first time in its history. One of those many U.S. citizens was a 22-year-old college student who, on the wings of Halley's Comet, was destined to change the way products were sold across America. Destined to bring quality products at affordable prices to millions of Americans and to offer employment to thousands of dedicated associates over a span of the next 100 years. That young man was John Leo Blair. John Blair's family, immigrants from Ireland, had moved from nearby Corry, Pennsylvania to Warren about the time of his birth. He grew up in Warren and graduated from high school here in 1904. After a year spent exploring the west coast of America, John returned to his hometown for a while before enrolling in a 3-year law degree program at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. While there, he accepted an offer to sell raincoats for a fellow student who had just inherited a raincoat factory. After making about 50 unsuccessful sales calls on his way across Pennsylvania during his Easter vacation break, John was asked by a local undertaker in nearby Kane, PA, if he could develop a black wool raincoat that was also waterproof. John worked with his university friend to develop just such a product using the new process of rubber vulcanization. A thin piece of rubber material was sandwiched between a black outer wool fabric and an inner wool plaid. Easter fell on March 27, 1910, and Halley's made its first appearance less than a month later, just about the time John Blair was establishing his new process rubber company. Learning from his many door-to-door sales calls during his Easter break, John began marketing his raincoat directly to undertakers across America through mail order. Eventually, he added ministers and businessmen to his mail list. His raincoat quickly saturated the market, and so he developed new products until a full line of men's, women's, and home products, many not containing rubber in their composition, began being advertised under the revised name of New Process Company. The majority of these newly developed products were produced exclusively for John Blair's company, and that still holds true today. The company eventually took the name of its founder as Blair Corporation in 1989. During John Blair's 52 years of leadership, New Process Company broke new ground in the mail order business. For instance, Blair was the first person to use an of-the-month club sales technique, selling men's ties in this fashion. Following the stock market crash of 1929, he wrote of how he would continue to provide inexpensive products, quote, during this Great Depression of ours, end quote. John Blair sent advice to President Franklin Roosevelt on how to repair our nation's economy. The Blairs were invited to the White House to dine with the First Family, and John was offered a position with the United States Treasury Department. He declined because his name was too closely associated with New Process Company, and it would be unethical to hold public office while still using his name in millions of advertisements. During the war years, Blair suspended the production of woolen products to allow this material to be used for military uniforms. He began substituting other natural and man-made fibers and weaves and helped promote the production of many unique fabrics. As part of new process mailing campaigns, small pieces of fabric were adhered to paper advertising slips to give the customer an idea of the look and the feel of the fabric. The company actually used more fabric for this simple purpose than many American clothing manufacturers used to create their entire product line. Quick to adapt and innovate, Blair turned a family operation into a multi-million-dollar, nationally known household name. By the time Halley's Comet passed through our skies again in 1986, Blair's company, still known as New Process Company, was the largest publicly owned mail order company in America and probably in the world. Early records of the New Process Rubber Company list John Blair's father, John Edwin Blair, as both vice president and partner, with John Leo Blair as president. It has been said that the company was formed by John Leo Blair, John Edwin Blair, and John S. Bayer. Bayer was the owner of a Warren furniture store from where the first New Process Rubber Company products were shipped. Eventually, Bayer sold his share of the company to John L. Blair at about the same time that the name was changed to simply New Process Company. New Process Company always had a family feel to it, and this may be because in the very beginning, John Blair was joined not only by his father, but by his brothers Lester and Harold and his sister Inez. The family hand-addressed and mailed thousands of promotional letters and flyers to customers, all of whom were dearly appreciated. Throughout the years, many generations of unrelated families from the Warren area and beyond have found employment at New Process Company and at Blair Corporation, helping to continue the family atmosphere. John Blair loved his company. His early headquarters and warehouse were located right here where this building now stands. When those earlier buildings were being destroyed by fire in 1933, he personally climbed a fireman's ladder with axe in hand to break out upper floor windows, allowing the water to reach the flames inside. This was only one of many sacrifices Blair made for his company, for his customers, and for his employees. John managed to have his company up and running again within 10 days after the fire. A new building was built on this location, and the company eventually expanded to impressive distribution facilities located in nearby Irvine, Pennsylvania. Blair prided himself on paying his bills on time and treating his customers and employees with great respect. Along the way, he became a great friend of Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson, who led the infamous Nuremberg trials after World War II. The Blairs were friendly with the Jacksons long before Robert Jackson became a Supreme Court justice. In fact, the two families had vacationed at home and abroad together. The Blairs became world travelers, and on one of their many trips overseas, they were honored with an audience with Pope Pius XII. John L. Blair was well loved by his friends, his customers, and his employees. When he finally followed Mark Twain's lead in 1962, the helm of New Process was handed to his son, John Lewis Blair, typically referred to as Jack. Jack Blair introduced many new procedures and equipment to New Process Company and directed operations until 1987, at which time Murray McComas took the lead. Under Murray's leadership, the name of New Process Company was rightfully changed to Blair Corporation in honor of its founder. Another big change for the company was that its longtime practice of mailing flyers to its customers was enhanced by the addition of catalogs. In 1999, Murray McComas retired and was followed as leader of Blair Corporation by John Zawacki, already a 28-year veteran of the company. Zawacki continued to direct the oldest continuous publicly held corporation on the American Stock Exchange, exploring new management techniques and product offerings. In 2007, Blair Corporation came under the new leadership of CEO Adelmo Lopez, and a deal was struck to return ownership to private hands, a move that would protect Blair from the volatility of the stock market. Lopez was followed by current CEO Shelley Nankioliar, who now leads Blair as part of the larger Orchard Brands catalog company. Blair still stands today under the name of its founder, John L. Blair, as a testament to American ingenuity, to the courage and insight of one man, and to the dedication of thousands of Blair and New Process Company associates.